So let me just welcome everybody to our first actual functional meeting of the Government Relations Subcommittee as it was structured previously. Everyone being here. Any changes to the agenda? Madam Clerk is not here.
We lose her? She was just here.
Here a second ago.
To get a chair.
Oh, there she is. Okay. Okay. There he is. Come sit beside me, Sam.
So you know what?
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you.
So listen,
Why
don't you chair the meeting? I don't want to do half and half. So why don't you chair it and it'll be consistent.
There you go, sir.
That'll make more sense. And I will leave when I need to.
Okay.
Okay.
Slide that across.
All right, well, welcome everyone. My apologies for the delay. I was in a meeting with Mark Chamberlain, actually, and Mike the Bike program.
Nice.
And something very exciting coming down the pipe. So, having said that, we'll call the meeting to order. And we'll probably, before we get on to the agenda items, perhaps we should go around the table. A little overwhelmed when I first came in, all the new faces, but or something else from you. But if you can everyone can introduce themselves, and we'll start with obviously the mayor, who doesn't need any introduction.
I work for the city.
I'd almost say so do I.
Yeah,
I'm Pat Wright from Hamilton Center for Civic Inclusion.
I'm Laura Katari from the Hamilton Roundtable for Poverty Reduction.
FFA from Hamilton Chamber. I'm Pat Campbell. I'm from Royal Page, but I'm standing in for Dave Cage, so there's not a big chamber comment.
Kuala Kwajay, work for the city.
Al Gore, work for the city of the General Manager of Public Works Office.
I am not Hillary Dawson. I am Jay Robb from Mohawkville. Hillary's in Oregon, so I'm her stunt double for today.
I'm Aaron Kirsten from the Flat Road Chamber of Commerce.
Doug Connolly, Ward 9 Councillor, work for the city.
I'm Judy Partridge, Councillor for Ward 15 in Flamborough.
And I'm Sam Bruno, Ward 4 Councillor, and this is...
I'm Lorraine, the Legislative Coordinator for the committee.
And Mike Kirkopoulos with the City of Hamilton.
Welcome to everyone. Madam Clerk, are there any changes to the agenda?
There are no changes to the agenda
May I have a motion to receive the agenda as presented, moved by Mayor Eisenberger, seconded by Conley. All in favor? Carried. Are there any declarations of interest? Hearing none.
Move the minutes.
Moved by Mayor Eisenberger, seconded by Councillor Partridge. Move the minutes from March 12, 2015. All in favor? Carried. Moving on to consent items, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Government Relations Update Report. There should be some discussion, I presume. If not, I have some things to say. Any questions? Okay, perhaps I'll pass the chair over to Mayor.
Well, I'm here, sure. Go ahead.
To you, Mr. Mayor, with respect to the amendments of the Government Relations Priority Areas, Mike, could you just elaborate on some of the amendments that did occur versus our previous meeting, just so that those who are in attendance today can have an understanding of the differences?
Through the chair, to the council and to the committee. So first let me just say thank you for the opportunity to be here. This is a broader group of folks that we have at the committee, and this is the first real, I think, committee that represents a larger stakeholder group than we've ever had before. So I think on behalf of the staff, I think it's a positive step forward and something that we hope will continue. And in terms of the government relations priorities that we've got here, most of you will recall, and for those that weren't here last term, we had identified transit, infrastructure, housing, and AODA as the 4 priority areas for council and for the city of Hamilton. You'll see that this term, those have been updated slightly. Transit, infrastructure, and housing remain. However, we've added U.S. Steel lands, and this came as direction from the Steel Committee that's been formed, and in light of some of the issues that are arising as a result of U.S. Steel and the CCAA process that is currently underway. We've added U.S. Steel as one of those priorities. You'll also see in Appendix A of the other report that we've added revenue tools for municipalities. We've added social services and housing, and you'll recall that we've been directed to come back, and it'll be coming at the next subcommittee on the uploading, downloading KPMG report that was commissioned by council. We've added poverty, which has always been a priority for the city of Hamilton, but we've officially added that to our government relations advocacy work. Economic development is another priority area that we've added. As well, Councillor Jackson, through the Emergency and Community Services Standing Committee, also directed that we add our long-term care facilities, and that would be Wentworth and Macassa Lodges and some of the capital upgrades that are required there, as well as ongoing funding for emergency medical services.
Thank you. And Mr. Mayor, with respect to these terms of reference, the original intent was to deal with, I guess, the downloading component. The KPMG report is forthcoming, and I believe, through you, Mr. Mayor, when are we anticipating the review of that?
So staff have got a draft report in front of us now. So through the chair to the councillor, staff have a draft report in front of us now. I think we're working with Lorraine to look at pulling together another meeting of this group, likely as soon as possible. We're assuming that would be with vacations in the summer coming, either towards the end of August or the beginning of September. We'll have the report available at that time for this committee to discuss and hear a presentation on.
Okay, and I think the important thing is, Mr. Mayor, that we not only look at what was in question at that time in that small envelope, but the downloading component globally. And if you can elaborate on that particular issue to separate the two, because I think it's important to recognize that nearly 50% of our operating budget has some form of downloading or no control of the council directly. If we can highlight both the question surrounding the social services issue, but over and above that, all the other boards and agencies and other downloading issues council has no direct control over, that would give us a better understanding and perspective on the magnitude of the impact of downloading. So would it be fair to you, Mr. Mayor, to assume that that will be included as well?
Through the mayor to the councillor, we can take that as direction and ensure that in the report we bring back it addresses those two differences, councillor.
Okay, and lastly, through you, Mr. Mayor, with respect, I read an article today regarding the fact that Hamilton has higher taxes on average out of 16 cities. We really need to put that in perspective. A couple of things. In that article, the average is, I believe, $289,000. And when you take a $289,000 home in Oshawa as an example, where the average home is $500,000, you're not comparing apples to apples, but yet apples to oranges. So I find it somewhat humorous that when you look at people who compare us to Toronto as an example and say, on average, on a $289,000 home, well, in Toronto, you're not going to buy a garage for $289,000. So that comparison is nonsensical. Having said that, we have made some improvement, but what needs to be included in that communication on a regular basis is the fact that 50% of our operating budget, we don't have any direct control over. So in essence, when we communicate in the future about comparisons, we all ultimately need to compare all of those non-controllables, not only with Hamilton, but those other cities as well, in order to give us a fair snapshot of what the reality is. So can we also provide that direction to finance, that be continually incorporated so that we're not misleading the public?
Okay, we can pass that along to finance as well, I think?
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right,
Good.
thank you. And I'll take the chair back.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions? Councilor Partridge.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Just, in our government relations strategy, one of the things that we have talked about over last term and certainly coming into this term was the idea of having a Hamilton Day at Queen's Park. And so through you, Chair, I'm just wondering if we can have a broader discussion on that, or if staff, Mike, if you have anything to add to that at this point. We might look at starting the process, starting to plan it, this being the beginning of our session. I'd just like to hear your thoughts, please.
Through the chair, the councillor, absolutely, we were talking about it as we walked into this meeting, and I look at Quab, who's doing a lot of our provincial government relations. We are planning something. We'd like to start getting into a yearly cycle where we would be doing that. I know a lot of other institutions that are doing that, whether it's McMaster, whether it's the chambers, across the province that are doing that. So it's definitely something on our radar. I mean, absolutely, it would be something that if we could get some, something official from this committee, I think it would, it'd be beneficial to kind of direct us to do that. It definitely is on our work plan and a strategy that we want to continue to employ, as well as having, more and more members of both public service at Queen's Park, as well as you know, through the mayor's office dealing with the politicians, you know, coming to Hamilton as well. You know, we've done a couple of tours over the past couple of years with the city manager and a number of other senior staff, so we would like to continue that as well.
Okay, thank you. But I'm wondering, and I'm quite happy to move that motion if we want to kind of get the ball rolling and make it an official part of our work plan, because I would like to have some discussion around the table about just what is it going to look at.
So moved by Councillor Partridge,
Yeah.
and seconded by Councillor Conlon.
Yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. All right, thanks, Councillor Partridge.
So if that could just become part of our agenda item, I'd just like to have a more fulsome discussion. I don't know if we want to do it now or if we want to do it at the next meeting. Perhaps you'll have more of an update, but you know.
Could you maybe report back on where we left it last term?
Sure.
And where we can go now?
Sorry.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying through the chair, I mean, I think between Quab and I, you know, we'll put together maybe a framework, look at some potential timing that works, maybe come back with some dates and just kind of a straw dog plan for what a Hamilton Day would look like at Queen's Park. And when we would recommend as staff would be the ideal time, and then work with this committee and the mayor's office to schedule that.
Mr. Mayor, do you have something?
Yeah, no, the right idea. I mean, it's something we should be doing consistently, actually, but making sure that we include the Mohawks and the Masters and the Redeemers and the Chambers as part of the overall initiative that we need to, and anyone else that ought to be. And I think of, you know, Redeemer potentially as an educational institution, school boards possibly. I mean, I think we want to make it as inclusive as possible rather than just necessarily municipal. It's about economic development, it's about education, it's about all the aspects of everything we do. So getting the best bang for it. It's hard to pull together, by the way, to get everybody to come and attend. You probably have one shot at it. So, you know, rather than doing it piecemeal with everybody, rather than do it collectively. So I think that would be a good step.
Excellent.
Good.
Councillor Partridge.
And thank you, Mr. Mayor, I appreciate that. I want to ensure, though, that the staff come back at the next meeting, that we also have some specific dates. Mike, I did hear you say you were going to come back with some dates, but I would like to have a date to work towards, so that we have a beginning and we have an end, and we know we've got work to do in between. But if you know, just if it's in November, then we know that let's work towards that. And you know, we could have another one in the spring. We don't have to have just one. But I just want to make sure that this doesn't become an onerous project and that it just remains doable.
So through the chair, just to that point, Councilor, I mean, Lorraine and I are just whispering about trying to get a date in everyone's calendar that works, and you know, with enough notice that you know we can accommodate those potential schedules and ensure everyone can make it down to Queen's Park for them.
Okay. How about a bus?
No, absolutely. I think that's what we anticipated, likely having everyone from here, you know, head out together.
Go transit.
And I think Redeemer College is waiting for an invitation accordingly as well. If you recall, we did bring this up from a Crown Point perspective in doing a similar trip surrounding trying to work through the maze of provincial and municipal relations. All right, so on that point, is there any further discussion with Councillor Connolly?
On the federal government part of it, is that talking about his own report?
Yeah, yes.
Well, I just wanted to mention that I saw Harper in Toronto giving $2.6 billion to Toronto last week for transit. He said there's $60 billion that they're looking at giving out across Canada. And I think we should get our fair share of that. And we should be promoting what we want or what we suggest. And it could be transit, it could be, actually it could be the Red Hill Valley Expressway if they could help with that, or it could be the Mid-Penn new highway that we're talking about. There's a lot of issues in Hamilton that we could be promoting to the government. They've got $60 billion to give out potentially to win the election, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We should be proactive in trying to go after that rather than just sitting back and hoping. So, whatever we can do in that area.
Thank you.
Just 2 points. The point would be actually on what Councillor Connolly said. So ourselves as a chamber and the Flamborough Chamber, as well as Councillor Partridge, we're part of the Morrison Bypass Coalition. So it's a public-private coalition where the city is officially a member, and the coalition has made trips to Ottawa in the past I remember the CEO of the Guelph Chamber was one of the participants, and we have made that bit, but nothing's come so far. So if there is an issue that we would like to reiterate, that should be probably be one of the top ones, because it's a big corridor for a lot of our businesses. So the second issue would be, would there be a possibility for private businesses to also jump on board the Hamilton Day plan?
Absolutely.
Because the Chamber initially started talking about it with the city, and there's some consensus, and I'd even booked tentative dates in February, but then we pushed it on to the city. But part of our regional plan was, we received a lot of feedback from GR firms in Toronto that bringing individual businesses is a lot more powerful beyond just the Chambers being the voice of business, because those politicians really can't say no to them. They can say no to us, but not so much to them. So if that could be considered.
It's all inclusive, and it actually is part of the plan, so that would. Yes, sir.
I was on the last bus that went to Queen's Park. Had a lot of fun on that trip. Tishi was there, the Tiger Cat mascot, as well as some of the pickup on your comment, some of the private, I think the wineries were there, and some of the local businesses were there too, with displays and so forth. So that, I think, is a powerful presence.
Excellent.
And we did enjoy the bus.
On the part of HRPR, we'd like to focus and be there around housing as well. Chippy was increased to previous levels, but unfortunately that's 3 years too late, and with the federal government funding on Housing First, we've lost a lot of the services in this community, so we'd love to be there as well.
Okay, I think it would be fair to say that it's all inclusive.
Okay.
So any relations with the city, and by extension the province, everyone is welcome to take part. Any further discussion on this item? Hearing none, may I have a motion to approve the government relations update? Moved by Partridge, seconded by Connolly. All in favor?
Carried.
Carried. And it's a short but sweet one, I guess, today. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, did we deal with 4.1?
That's
That's what we just dealt with.
what we just dealt
The
with.
update report? My apologies, thank you.
Yeah, okay, no problem. So motion to adjourn, Partridge, Connolly, all in favor?
Carried.
Carried. Thanks, everyone.
So one,
Two things.
we need a quick amendment,
Oh,
so just a procedural issue that.
Procedural issue with item 7.1.
oh, okay, wait a minute.
The recommendation be deleted and replaced with subsection B, which is the,
So moved by
Government
Partridge,
relations
seconded by
strategy.
Connolly, that the, can you repeat that again?
that subsections A and B be deleted from the recommendation.
Subsection A and B be deleted in the recommendation.
And that they be replaced by subsection A, which is actually subsection B,
And then be replaced by subsection A, which is actually subsection B.
regarding the government relations strategy.
Okay, so be it. As moved by Partridge, seconded by Connolly, all in favor?
Carried.
Carried. Thanks, guys.